M is at the door. She is welcoming her guests. One of her guests is her Judy. She said to her, Judy, did you bring your son or your nephew here? Because you know I'm trying to hook him up with that goddamn Dorothy. She need to get some dick and get the fuck out my house. By 1977, 19-year-old Michael Jackson happened to find himself on the same career path as his mentor, Diana Ross. He wanted to begin making decisions regarding his own future, just as Diana, who had been dominated by Berry Gordy for 17 years, was beginning to break his hold on her. Determined to be a film actress, she was anxious to find a property in which to star and one she could claim responsibility for finding. Unlike her previous two, Lady Sings the Blues and Mahogany, both Motown discoveries. Okay, so I've definitely read this before, but some things don't hit you until a certain point. According to this, of course, Motown did Lady Sings the Blues and Mahogany, the flippity floppity. No, I love Diana. When I tell you Diana is giving fashions in Mahogany, but that's it. Well, I was getting ready to look at it today because I'm in the mood for Diana today until they asked me to pay $3.99 to rent the Mahogany. I was like, $3.99? I know you fucking lying, not for a goddamn movie that was a friggin' flop. Okay, but I mean, I might pay $3.99 just for the fashion. Anyway, didn't matter. I moved on to Tiana Taylor's 1001 or 1001. Y'all, if y'all ain't never seen that movie, you better go. So the way the story goes is that Diana's trying to find herself. I don't understand why every entity involved in the Wiz allowed her to have this much power, and how the big company allowed her to do this and back her financially, because from what I understand, the movie was like 20 million, something like that, and did like 17 cents in the box office. Diana was trying to be her own person. I did what you wanted me to do with Lady Sings the Blues and Mahogany. I want to do The Wiz. We all know The Wiz. I'm not going to get into it. It's a remake of the white version of The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. Against Barry's recommendation of nobody's going to accept you as Dorothy. No. I don't care how good you look in the fashions. You're not going to be Dorothy. They went on and they did it anyway and redid it. I mean, it worked for me. I thought it was absolutely fabulous. You know, I was all ready to embrace it, but then I was partial to Michael Jackson and Diana Ross and all the singing and dancing. I was partial to the Wiz, so they could do no wrong. But the box office didn't like it. The fact that she went to Berry and was like, okay, I want to do this. Berry told her, fuck no. And Berry said, okay, let's do it because Diana wants to do it. Then Motown takes it to CBS and be like, or who was it that did, or whoever the movie company was, and was like, okay, Diana Ross want to do this way, and they put $20 million behind it, is astonishing to me. See, that's why Diana act the way she act, because she always gets what she wants, no matter how ridiculous it is. Okay? The fact that she is 70-something years old and just won another Grammy is outstanding to me. That lady is not to be played with. I don't know how she was able to get that done when you have a ridiculous idea, and then Berry Gordy goes to a movie company and say, okay, we need you to invest $20,000 or $200-something thousand into this ridiculous idea and only recoup 17 cents. That's crazy to me. But she did it. Y'all can't tell me Diana ain't a bad bitch. That's why she is the boss. To Diana, this film represented an opportunity to demonstrate to Barry that she had not only talent, but creative vision as well. Barry disagreed. He thought casting her in The Wiz was a dreadful idea, which only encouraged Diana to want the role even more. A tug of war ensued between Svengali and protege. Eventually, Diana prevailed. Practically everybody at Motown agreed that a 33-year-old Diana was too old to, as Barry put it, play anybody's damn Dorothy. Still, Barry and Rob Cohen secured $1 million contract when Harlem schoolteacher Dorothy, Diana Ross, tries to save her dog from a storm. She's miraculously whisked away to an urban fantasy land called Oz after accidentally killing the Wicked Witch of the East. Upon her arrival, Dorothy is told about the Wiz, Richard Pryor, a wizard who can help her get back to Manhattan. As Dorothy goes in search of the Wiz, she's joined by the Scarecrow, Michael Jackson, the Tin Man, Nipsey Russell, and the Cowardly Lion, Ted Ross. You know what? Ted Ross is so underrated. That's a bad mother. Okay. Oh, how simply put via the Wikipedia. Oh, how we know that the Wiz is so much bigger than that now that we're adults and can reflect back on the bush. How the Wiz, the movie opens up, it's a storm brewing, okay? We know it's going to be something vicious because people slipping and sliding outside on the sidewalk. Aunt M is having a dinner. I'm not sure if it's a celebration, Thanksgiving, some kind of maybe Sunday dinner that they do every Sunday or maybe every year. I don't know. And this is how we know that the Wiz is actually catered towards the black family, because just like in the movie Soul Food, you have the same spread on the table. I mean, they get busy. Aunt M is at the door. She is welcoming her guests. One of her guests is her Judy. She said to her Judy, did you bring your son or your nephew here? Because you know I'm trying to hook him up with that goddamn Dorothy. She need to get some dick and get the fuck out my house. Despite the nephew or the son's efforts, he gets no play. Dorothy / Diana Ross, she too busy trying to take care of the dishes and the ham and the turkey and the biscuits and the stuffing to worry about meeting an available young man. At the end of the event, you have Aunt M and her husband sitting back. Dorothy over there in the kitchen cleaning up, because that's what she should do. Because after all, she is living with her aunt and uncle. Her aunt and uncle are having a conversation with each other. Husband, our kids are good. They out the house and they doing their own thing. Who we need to be worried about is that goddamn Dorothy. We need to get her out of this house so we can walk around butt naked and be freaky and nasty. Not really, but really. Aunt M leaves her husband, going to the kitchen with Dorothy / Diana Ross and say, hey girl, hey, I know you're over there teaching them young children, but maybe you need to consider working with the older kids in high school. You'll have more of an impact on their life because you'll be with them longer. And you'll get more money, so then therefore you can get the fuck out of my house. Dorothy's sentiment is, oh, Aunt Tim, I like the kids. I like being with the children, you know. Dorothy is perfectly fine with sitting in her aunt and uncle's house in the second bedroom. The aunt and uncle ain't fine with it. Look, girl, you ain't gonna know whether you like life or not outside these walls until you try. And she was stern with that, meaning I'm trying to walk around this house butt naked with my husband so we can do the freak nasty. Our kids is gone. You need to get the food. Aunt M gets frustrated with her and is like, look, I'm going in the bedroom with my husband because that's my husband. And I got him because I left my mammy house and experienced life. You do what you do in here. Clean up all the dishes and pots and pans. Fuck it then. It's the least you can do. This is where the movie turns into the traditional Wizard of Oz, the Wiz. While she is washing the dishes, Toto escapes the house somehow. I guess somebody leaves the door open. So Toto then ran into the tornado that has hit New York, Manhattan, because all this is happening in New York, not in fucking Kansas. And the two get whisked away in a storm and ends up in Oz. So the way that the movie opens suits what Diana needs in order to make the Wiz work for her. But we know it ain't work. So at this point, you got to think about it. Diana Ross had so much power. This is after the mahogany. After that, they gave her so much power that they would allow her to rework a classic for the white folks and the black folks. When Rob suggested to Diana that Michael might be right for the part, she agreed wholeheartedly. It was she then who suggested it to Michael, though he'd seen the Broadway play a half dozen times and obviously loved it. Michael was reluctant. He felt that Berry Gordy might use his influence to have him rejected because of the bad blood that still existed between Motown and the Jackson family. Diana reassured him that he would be given a fair chance. Hell yeah. Because if she could convince Berry Gordy and a movie company to invest in a ridiculous idea, why can't she get Michael Jackson to be the Scarecrow? And he was amazing. Joseph did not want Michael to have the kind of solo attention a major movie would generate for him. Since family prosperity through unity had always been Joseph's goal, he was never one to encourage individuality within the group. When Michael recorded solo albums at Motown, it was with the understanding that Jermaine and Jackie have the same opportunity. Tito and Marlon also worked on solo album projects for Motown, though the records were never released. Of course, Joseph knew that without Michael's voice, personality, and charisma, the Jacksons would be a completely different kind of act, and maybe not a good one either, especially now that Jermaine was gone. Working with his brothers had never been a problem for Michael in the past. He was always group-minded. However, now that he was older, he was beginning to feel constricted by the group democratic mentality. Though Joseph had been trying for years to find a property that would star all of the Jacksons, the brothers didn't really care about making movies as much as Michael. I watch movies constantly and envision how it would have been if I could have been the star, he recalled. I wanted nothing more than to be a movie star. As much as he wanted the role of the Scarecrow, accepting it was not easy for him. In order to do so, Michael had to defy Joseph and risk the disapproval of his entire family. Also, he was going to have to perform in a strange medium. A weekly TV variety show that he loathed doing was insufficient preparation for a major movie role. Michael, always the perfectionist, wondered if he would be up to the challenge. Though he agonized over what to do, in the end he decided to follow his heart. I'm doing the movie, he told Joseph. I hope you'll support me. You should never put your child in a situation. Choose the family or what you really want to do in life. It's not right. No, Joseph said. Remember that you are a member of this family and a part of a singing group with your brothers, no matter what you do. Family, Michael, that's everything. The two men smiled at each other. If things had been different between them, perhaps they would have embraced. But that wasn't how their relationship worked. Michael gave his father a thumbs up and dashed off. The Wiz offered Michael a temporary avenue of escape from the negativity of his male siblings and father. When he moved to New York in July 1977 to begin the film, he asked LaToya to accompany him.